there, and welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. We're thrilled to have you join us today.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
So today we're diving into a really interesting topic. Master Lease Options, control without ownership. It's one of those strategies that can sound complicated, but really, it's all about smart investing decisions.
Yeah, it can seem a bit daunting at first, but once you break it down, it's actually quite manageable and really effective for building wealth.
Exactly. We're going to unpack what Master Lease Options are, how they work, and why they might be a great fit for you, especially if you're looking to ease into real estate investing without diving right into ownership.
Right, and we'll also touch on the benefits, some potential pitfalls to watch out for, and share a few real-life examples that can really help illustrate how this strategy plays out in the real world.
I love that. It's always good to see how theory translates into practice. And, whether you're just starting out or looking to expand your portfolio, this could be a game changer.
For sure. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's break down what Master Lease Options really mean and how you can start using them to your advantage.
Sarah, one of the big reasons we're diving into Master Lease Options, especially for folks over 40, is the changing landscape of retirement. A lot of people are realizing that traditional retirement accounts might not cut it anymore, with inflation and all.
Absolutely, Mike. It's like, when you think about it, many of us are looking at longer life expectancies now, right? So having a solid plan for income in those later years is crucial. And that's where real estate can really shine.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the current economic trends. With interest rates fluctuating and the housing market shifting, it's more important than ever to have flexible strategies. Master Lease Options can provide that flexibility. You control a property without the hefty price tag of ownership.
Right, and that's such an appealing aspect. I remember speaking to a listener, let's call her Linda, who was feeling overwhelmed by the idea of buying a rental property outright. She was worried about the costs, maintenance, and, the risk involved. But then she learned about Master Lease Options and realized she could dip her toes in real estate without the full commitment.
Exactly. Linda was able to secure a property, manage it, and generate cash flow, all while preserving her capital for other investments. It's like she got to test the waters before diving in head first.
And that's so valuable, especially at this stage in life. Many people are also thinking about passing wealth onto their families. Having a solid asset like real estate can really help with that. It's not just about you anymore. It's about building a legacy.
For sure. I had a client, let's call him Tom, who was in a similar situation. He wanted to create a financial foundation for his kids. By using Master Lease Options, he was able to control multiple properties, which allowed him to generate enough income to support his family and have something significant to pass down.
That's such a powerful story. And it also ties into the emotional side of financial security. I think many people in their 40s and beyond want peace of mind, right? They want to feel secure in their financial future. Real estate can provide that stability, especially through strategies like these.
Definitely. And let's not underestimate the impact of inflation. It's been a hot topic lately. Real estate often acts as a hedge against inflation because property values and rents tend to rise over time. So using Master Lease Options can be a way to lock in a property now while potentially benefiting from those future increases.
That's a great point. If you look at it this way, you're not only controlling a property, but also positioning yourself to benefit from appreciation without the upfront costs that come with buying.
Exactly, and that's why it's so relevant right now. The market is shifting, and traditional methods might not be the best fit anymore. People need adaptable strategies that can align with their financial goals as they approach retirement.
Right, and for those who might be feeling uncertain about the future because of economic pressures, it's empowering to know there are alternatives. Master Lease Options can offer a way to invest with less risk, which can be really reassuring.
For sure. I often tell my clients that it's not just about the numbers. It's about what those numbers mean for their lives. Like, when you think about it, the ability to control a property can lead to more freedom, more choices. And that's what we all want, right?
Exactly. And, by taking steps now, you're creating opportunities for yourself down the line. I've seen so many stories of people who started with Master Lease Options and then moved on to more traditional investing as they gained confidence and knowledge.
Right. There's a real progression there. You start with a manageable strategy, and as you build your experience, you can make more informed decisions and take on more significant investments if you choose.
And it's never too late to start, either. I think that's a common misconception. Some folks might think they've missed the boat, but in reality, there are always opportunities, and Master Lease Options can be a fantastic entry point.
Exactly. And it's about finding the right fit for your individual situation. Everyone's journey is unique. Whether you're looking to secure your retirement, support your family, or simply want to diversify your income sources.
Yeah, and that's what makes this approach so appealing. It allows for customization. You can tailor it to your needs and goals, whether you want short-term cash flow or long-term appreciation.
Absolutely. And as we look ahead, the economic landscape is bound to keep changing. Being adaptable and open to new strategies, like Master Lease Options, can mean the difference between feeling anxious about your financial future and feeling empowered.
That's a fantastic perspective, Mike. So as we transition into the core strategies for implementing Master Lease Options, it's clear there's a lot to gain, especially for those of us at a pivotal stage in life. Let's dive into how we can get started.
So let's dive into the core strategies of Master Lease Options, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard that Master Lease Options can be a game changer for investors looking to control property without actually owning it. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. At its core, a Master Lease Option allows you to lease a property with the option to buy it later. It gives you control over the property without the upfront cost of purchasing it outright. You're essentially getting the benefits of ownership, like cash flow and appreciation, without all the initial financial commitment.
That sounds intriguing. So how would someone get started with this strategy?
Well, first things first, you need to find the right property. Look for motivated sellers, those who might be having trouble selling or managing their property. This could be due to financial issues, a change in life circumstances, or just a lack of interest in being a landlord.
Right, so it's about finding those opportunities where the seller is eager to make a deal. What's next after you find a potential property?
Once you find a property, you'd want to negotiate the Master Lease Option terms. It's important to set a fair lease payment that covers your costs. Say around 1% of the property's value monthly can be a good starting point.
Ah, the 1% rule. That's a great benchmark. So if a property is valued at $200,000, you'd look at a monthly lease payment of about $2,000?
Exactly. And remember, this doesn't just cover your lease payment. You also want to factor in additional expenses, like property management fees, maintenance costs, and any other overhead.
Got it. So you're looking to make sure the numbers work in your favor. What about the option to buy? How do you approach that?
Good question. You'd want to establish a purchase price at the outset, ideally locking it in when you negotiate the lease. This could be based on current market value, or slightly higher if you think the property will appreciate significantly over the lease term.
So let's say you negotiate a purchase price of $220,000 for that $200,000 property.
Right, and if the market value increases to, say, $250,000 over a few years, you've locked in that lower price. That's where the real value comes in.
That makes sense. And how long do these lease options usually last?
Typically, they can range from 1 to 5 years. You want enough time for the property to appreciate and for you to generate some cash flow.
And the cash flow would come from renting it out, right?
Exactly. If you can rent out the property for, say, $500 a month, you're making a profit after covering your lease. Just remember to keep an eye on market rents, too.
That's a solid strategy. Are there any common financing options for these deals?
Yes, indeed. You generally won't need traditional financing since you're not buying the property outright. However, if you decide to exercise your option to buy, you could look at conventional mortgages, private lenders, or even seller financing, depending on the seller's circumstances.
Seller financing? Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. With seller financing, the seller acts as the bank. You would make monthly payments to them instead of a traditional lender. This can be a great option if the seller is motivated and wants to make a deal happen quickly.
Nice. And what about the types of properties that work well with Master Lease Options?
Single-family homes, small multifamily units, and even commercial properties can work. It really depends on the market and your goals. Just ensure the property has good cash flow potential.
So what's next? How do you evaluate whether a deal is a good one?
You can use a deal evaluation checklist. Start with the numbers. Calculate your potential cash flow. Consider the 50% rule, where you estimate that operating expenses will be about 50% of your gross income.
The 50% rule? Right, so if you're bringing in $2, $500 a month, you'd assume about $1, $250 for expenses?
Exactly. And then you want to consider your cap rate too, which is your net operating income divided by the property value.
So if your net operating income is $15,000 annually on a $200,000 property, your cap rate would be 7.5%?
Correct. A higher cap rate generally indicates a better investment return. Just keep in mind that location and property condition can affect these numbers significantly.
This is all super helpful. Are there any final tips or rules of thumb you'd recommend when considering master lease options?
Definitely. Always do thorough due diligence on the property and the market. Build strong relationships with the sellers. Transparency is key. And, of course, have a solid exit strategy.
Right, you need to know what your next steps are if things don't go as planned.
Exactly. And let's not forget, it's important to have a good legal contract in place for the lease option. You want to protect your rights and obligations clearly.
That's a crucial point. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. What about moving on to some common pitfalls investors should watch out for?
Great idea. There are definitely some traps to avoid when using master lease options. You know, Sarah, when we talk about common pitfalls in real estate investing, especially with master lease options, one of the biggest mistakes I see is over-leveraging.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's easy to get excited and think you can handle more than you actually can, right?
Exactly. I once had a client who was so eager to dive in, he took on multiple lease options at once, thinking, hey, I can manage all these properties. But he hadn't really considered the cash flow implications.
Oh no! What happened?
Well, when a couple of those properties had unexpected maintenance issues, like, roof leaks and plumbing problems, he ended up in a tight spot. He wasn't prepared for the costs, and that really drained his finances.
Yikes! That's a hard lesson. So, what should investors do to avoid that?
The key is to really assess your own financial situation before taking on multiple commitments. Make sure you have a clear understanding of your cash flow and keep a buffer for unexpected expenses.
Right. Having that cushion is so important. But I guess another issue that can pop up is bad tenants?
Absolutely. It's one of those things that can really derail your plans. I had another client who was thrilled to get a tenant in right away, but didn't do the proper screening.
Oh no. Did it backfire?
Yeah. They ended up with someone who consistently paid late, and then there were complaints about noise and property damage. It turned into a long, drawn-out eviction process that cost them time and money.
That sounds frustrating. So how can investors avoid that kind of situation?
Well, the screening process is crucial. You want to check references, do credit checks, and really gauge their rental history. And, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is.
Definitely. And speaking of cash flow, ignoring it can be a real trap, can it?
Yes, it can. I've seen people focus too much on potential appreciation and forget about the actual cash flow from the property. One investor I know was fixated on a neighborhood that was up and coming, but the cash flow was negative because the rent didn't cover the mortgage and expenses.
Ouch! That's a tough position to be in.
Right? They ended up having to sell at a loss because they were bleeding money each month. It's essential to calculate all the costs: mortgage, maintenance, property management, and ensure the rent can cover those.
So it's really about looking at the bigger picture and not just the shiny future profits.
Exactly. And then there's the whole timing the market thing.
Oh boy, that's a slippery slope.
It really is. I had a colleague who thought he could buy low and sell high. Like, he was waiting for the perfect moment to jump in, but he kept missing opportunities while waiting for the market to dip.
So he just sat on the sidelines, huh?
Yeah, and by the time he finally decided to buy, prices had skyrocketed, and he ended up paying way more than he would have if he just acted sooner.
That's such a common mistake. So what do you suggest for people who want to avoid that trap?
Well, I always tell people to focus on the fundamentals of the property itself, rather than trying to time the market. Look for solid cash flow and properties that fit your investment strategy.
That's solid advice. And what about hidden costs? I feel like those can sneak up on you.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many investors overlook things like property taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs. I had a friend who bought a property thinking he had a great deal, but the property taxes were way higher than he'd anticipated.
Wow, that can really eat into profits.
Yeah, it can. And then there's also the cost of repairs and upkeep that people sometimes forget to factor in. It's really about doing thorough due diligence before making a purchase.
So what can investors do to spot those red flags early on?
Well, when evaluating a property, I recommend getting a professional inspection. It might seem like an added expense, but it's worth it to uncover any hidden issues before you commit. Plus, check the neighborhood for any signs of declining property values or rising crime rates.
That's smart. It's like doing your homework before the big test.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to walk away if things don't feel right. Sometimes it's better to pass on a deal than to rush in and regret it later.
Very true. So what would you say are the next steps for someone who's looking to invest wisely in master lease options?
Well, first off, take the time to educate yourself. Read up on master lease options, connect with other investors, and consider joining local real estate groups or forums. Then, create a solid financial plan that includes a budget for unexpected costs.
Great advice. And maybe even find a mentor who can guide you through the process.
Absolutely. Having someone experienced by your side can be invaluable. And remember, it's all about building a strategy that works for you and sticking to it.
Yeah, and being patient, right? Investing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Focus on long-term growth, and don't let short-term setbacks discourage you. With the right approach, you can build real wealth over time.
That's such an encouraging note to end on.
All right, so let's dive into some practical steps that anyone can take, especially if you're thinking about master lease options.
Yeah, I love that. It's all about getting started, right? What's the first thing you'd recommend?
Well, I'd say start with education. There are some fantastic resources out there. For example, check out Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a classic, but it really gets you thinking about assets and cash flow.
Oh, definitely. That book really shifts your mindset. Are there any podcasts or online platforms you think people should look into?
Absolutely. I'd suggest Bigger Pockets podcast. They cover a lot about different investing strategies, including lease options. Plus, the community is super supportive. You can learn so much from others' experiences.
That's a great point. And, engaging with a community can really boost your confidence.
Right. And speaking of community, joining a local real estate meetup can be invaluable. You can connect with people who are actively investing and learn from their journeys.
Yes, networking is key. And what about practical tools? What can someone use to start analyzing potential deals?
Oh, there are plenty of apps for that. For starters, Zillow is fantastic for research on property values and rental prices. It gives you a good baseline for what's happening in the market.
And that's crucial for making informed decisions. What else?
Well, I recommend checking out the Bigger Pockets calculator as well. It's a great tool for analyzing deals, including cash flow projections.
That's super handy. And what about something like Deal Check? I've heard that's useful too.
Yes, Deal Check is another solid option. It allows you to analyze multiple properties quickly, which can save you a lot of time. Plus, you can share your analyses with partners or lenders easily.
That's great. What about rental price analysis?
Rentometer is a really useful tool for that. You can check how your prospective rental compares to similar properties in the area. It's always good to know if you're pricing it right.
Definitely. So once they've got their tools set up, what's the next step?
Start analyzing deals. I recommend aiming for just one deal per week, even if it's just hypothetical. Get comfortable with the numbers in the process.
That's a manageable goal. It helps build consistency without feeling overwhelming.
Exactly. And as you're analyzing, keep an eye on the market trends in your area. Understanding the local real estate landscape will give you an edge.
I love that. And what about keeping up with your education?
Good question. I'd suggest setting aside a specific time each week to read articles, listen to podcasts, or watch YouTube videos focused on real estate investing.
Yeah, it's all about creating that habit, right? I mean, even just 30 minutes a week can make a difference.
For sure. And maybe attend a seminar or workshop. It's a great way to meet people, learn from experts, and get inspired.
That sounds exciting. It can really ignite your passion. What about finding properties?
Well, if you have access to your local MLS, that's a big advantage. You can find properties that might not even be listed on sites like Zillow yet.
Right. And for those who don't have that access, maybe consider teaming up with a real estate agent who understands your goals.
Yes, that can really help you find good opportunities. And remember to keep your eyes open for sellers who might be open to lease options.
That's such a good point. Sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. And don't hesitate to reach out to property owners directly. You'd be surprised how many might be open to creative arrangements like this.
That's so true. It's about starting conversations and building relationships.
And speaking of relationships, don't underestimate the power of mentorship. Finding a mentor in the real estate space can accelerate your learning curve tremendously.
Yes. Having someone to guide you through those first steps is invaluable.
And remember, start where you are. You don't need to know everything before you begin. Just take those small steps forward.
That's so encouraging, Mike. It's all about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable, you can begin to scale your efforts. Maybe look into multiple properties or even partnering with others.
That's a great way to leverage your resources. So, with these tools in your pocket and a clear plan, you're ready to move forward.
And that's the key. Just keep taking those steps.
So let's bring this all together as we wrap up.
All right. So as we wrap up today's discussion on Master Lease Options, let's highlight a few key takeaways, yeah?
Absolutely. First off, one major point is the flexibility that Master Lease Options provide. You can control a property without having to buy it outright, which opens up so many doors.
Right. And then there's the potential for cash flow. You can generate income from a property while also setting it up for future purchase. That's a win-win, if you ask me.
Totally. And we can't forget about the power of negotiation. Having the ability to structure deals that fit your financial goals can really set you apart from other investors.
Exactly. And, it's also about minimizing risk. By using a master lease option, you're not fully committing your capital up front. It gives you time to assess the property and market conditions.
Yes. And lastly, I think we emphasize the importance of understanding local laws and regulations. That's crucial, especially when you're putting together these agreements.
For sure. So as you think about your journey in real estate, remember that building wealth doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start small, keep learning, and take those steps forward.
Yeah, and don't hesitate to explore different strategies, like Master Lease Options. They can really empower you to make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed today's episode and found value in it, please like and subscribe. And we'd love to hear from you. Comment below with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone over 40 who's looking to invest in property. You never know who might find it helpful.
Next time, we'll dive into novation agreements. You'll learn how to assign contracts profitably, which can be a game changer in your investing journey.
Sounds exciting! Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Take care, everyone.